social quarantine times. I'm back here at the Arcadia Mill Boardwalk, and I know everyone is social quarantining, so we wanted to give folks a little bit of perspective about how people would have lived off the land here in early Northwest Florida. So we have another plant that we're highlighting today. This one would have been especially useful for folks back before pharmacies and grocery stores were around, because it's kind of like Mother Nature's bandage. In fact, this type of moss, called Sphagnum moss, has been traditionally used as a bandaging material all throughout time. You can see some down here. It likes to poke out of really boggy areas with acidic water and soil and mud. And this sphagnum moss can hold up to 20 times its own weight in fluids over time. So you see down here it's bright green and growing well. You can pick this plant and dry it out, and when it dries out, it's very soft and spongy. I've got some here that you can see. It's very, very dry in this form, but if you give it moisture, it will turn a bright, soft green color and fill up 20 times its own weight in fluids, which means that it's actually more absorbent than cotton. And this type of material has been used for a long time for stuffing and, like I said, also as bandages. The historic use of it as a bandage is very well known from the Civil War era. So people back then, there was a shortage of bandages in Confederate, especially hospitals. And there was a large effort to try to gather natural resources that could be used to supplement the things that were needed in Civil War encampments, especially bandages. Because back then, they'd pull a cotton bandage off of one guy, rinse it a little if you're lucky, and then put it on another. It led to a lot of infections. But when they started to gather sphagnum moss from the landscape and bring it to encampments and to military hospitals, they were realizing that this was a great replacement for cotton bandages, not only because it's extremely absorbent, but it also could not be reused, and also it has antiseptic properties because of the acidic environment it grows in. And so, as they started to increase the use of sphagnum moss, there was a discovery that infection rates dropped. This was before germs were really well understood. All they knew was all of a sudden, they weren't having to cut off quite as many limbs, which is a good thing. So this has been kind of forgotten in modern culture, but you can still find sphagnum moss dried and sold in stores as a type of potted plant filler. A lot of people use them in orchids to hold moisture for orchids. Fun fact, this type of plant was actually used in early hygiene products for women. If you look this up online, you'll see sphagnum moss hygiene products used for these purposes, and it kind of disappeared after, about World War I era. But thank you for joining us again. We'll see you next time.